What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Art of Suffering podcast with Dalton Darnell. Today, we have a friend of mine that I've actually never met in real life. We kind of hooked up on TikTok at one point, and I've been watching this guy's stuff for a long time. I would like to introduce you to Mark Bossert. Did I say that right?
You did.
I did. Look at that. Look at there. So Mark is a cowhand, a farrier, a father, a husband, absolutely promotes Christ in almost everything he does that I've seen on the internet. So he is just an excellent role model for somebody wanting to get into this stuff. His content is a lot of fun to watch, along with educational in some regards. So today we're just going to visit with Mark about all the things we normally visit about. And we'll start with where you're from, man, and kind of, did you grow up doing this stuff, or did you get into it later, or what did your childhood look like for you?
So I was born, and I currently reside in South Central South Dakota. Kind of moved around a bunch growing up due to our family's past. And maybe a couple places we were at, we did some stuff like this, but there's only me and one other brother really that are into this style of stuff. So.
Mm-hmm. So, Mark, how old are you, man?
I will be 25 in April.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. And how long ago did you and Bailey get married?
Almost 4 years, so August of 21.
Okay. So y'all had a couple of years of bliss before the little man came.
Yeah. I don't regret it at all. We were planning on it, so.
No. It just changes things so much, dude. Like when they come, it's just a totally different world. And I think a lot of men, and you might not be one of these guys, they're just not prepared for quite what it takes to continue to be a good husband and then try to be a father at the same time. It adds quite a bit to the plate. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. More than most people know.
Yeah. There's no guidebook. You know what I mean? Well, there is technically, I guess, but there's no like step-by-step instructions that are just dummy proof for every man. It's like, do this and this and this. And this is how you're going to continue to love your wife in this season, because it doesn't look like flowers and chocolate. You know what I mean? It
right,
looks like
exactly.
a lot of different things.
Yeah. And if you try to follow the world's view on what a husband and father should be, that's almost wrong in every aspect. So
everyone. Explain that a little bit.
So, explain what aspect of what? So if you are a religious person, like you and I both are, following the Bible and what God portrays the husband and father role should be, that is a whole lot different than the world's aspect. I feel like that today, you see a lot of, and it's not any fault of their own sometimes, but you see a lot of women having to provide and be the household provider just as much as men. So for us, I really, from day one, have strived to be the household provider and take that role so she can be a mom. And we get a lot of questions about that because we're pretty young. So to see that at our age, a lot of people are curious how that happened. So
today's episode is brought to you by 310edu.com. From your everyday businessman shots to the big fancy loops, we do our best to break down the fundamentals of each shot to give you a versatile approach to doctoring, caretaking, and working with cattle. Just as important as the roping is the mental side of doctoring cattle. The ability, mindset, and strategy that goes into setting yourself or your team up for success is a huge part of being a great stockman. Our newest addition to 310edu is breaking down real-world working situations to discuss strategy, thought process, and hindsight. These videos are a great source for analyzing our mistakes, missed opportunities, and weak points, as well as an amazing place to break down in detail our best shots and strategies. Go check out 310edu.com and use the code TRYIT for $1. That's going to give you your first month for only $1 to check out all the educational content at 310edu.com. No, I agree completely. It's a choice. Like, when me and Kara decided that one of us was going to be home with the kids, we focused our entire life towards that. And you have to. It's like a total life change for everything that you need to do. You know what I mean? And at the time, what's funny is at the time when Wiley was born, I was cowboying and I was making $100 a day. I worked at a ranch about 59 miles one way from my house. And I was bringing home, like, after taxes, like $364 a week. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, your boy wasn't paying the bills. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So when Wiley was born and he was in the NICU for a number of months or 6 weeks, not months, 6 weeks, he was 9 weeks early, and Kara was real, like, bothered. You know what I mean? She was like, I don't want to send this kid just anywhere. He only weighed like 3 pounds. And so I was like, well, it's just stupid for me to go to work and pay and give my whole paycheck to somebody to raise my son. And so because she made more money than me, she continued to work. And in that time, it took me 2 years. I worked for free for $310 for 2 years to where they could pay me enough where Kara could be done working. But that was the goal. But the goal logistically required some day-to-day things that I didn't want to do. Like I wanted to cowboy, you know what I mean? Like, and yeah. I couldn't take care of my family in the way that they needed to be taken care of and do the things I wanted to do. It was a sacrifice on everybody's part, because obviously Kara had to go to work and make all the money. But God kind of lined it out for us. You know, he guided the whole ship in the direction of, like, okay, I understand what you want to do. If you're diligent here and you submit to what you need to do, then we'll figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep, 100%. You got to be willing. And I'm thankfully, I've started to learn that at an early age. Some people don't figure that out till they're halfway through life. So
No, 100%. And that's kind of a special thing about you guys. And I see all your stuff on TikTok, and I see all of Bailey's stuff on TikTok, and it's fun to watch, man. It's fun to watch somebody who's young, which I would consider myself still young. But the fact is, I'm not as young as you. And it's fun to watch a family choose to do it God's way.
Yeah, and sadly, I feel like it's almost rare now. It shouldn't be, but I feel like it is kind of rare.
No, it's very rare. That's why it's weird, right?
Yeah.
That's why people ask you questions.
Yeah, especially like on a platform like TikTok. Yeah,
they don't know, man. They have no clue what God's actually got for them, and it's interesting to me. You look at your life, and the older you get, and the more kids you have, and the more your relationship with your wife grows, everything else kind of starts mattering a lot less. For me anyway, like my work, my job, my career, so to speak, is like the lowest on the totem pole for me when it comes to things that actually matter. Like, of course I have to pay the bills. But those aren't the things that keep me up at night, right? What kind of man my son is going to be is the kind of stuff that keeps me up at night. And I think a lot of people, men in particular, and that's kind of the calling card of this whole podcast, is like, is a call to arms. Like, you're focusing on the wrong things. The stuff that the enemy wants you to get distracted with, you're getting distracted with, and you don't take care of yourself, and you don't look into your life and see what God's given you. You're looking out and away from those things to try to get something that doesn't even exist. It's how the enemy sets it up to try to whoop you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, your priorities are completely screwed up. A Bible study that we're kind of, a men's group here is kind of diving into, kind of has really been focusing on that, as what is our priority as husbands? Are we self-centered with our desires for work or pleasure or whatever we want to do? Are we self-centered in that? But that was kind of the basis and motivation for me to branch back to the farrier side of stuff. I mean, I still cowboy, I still day work, and the call for day work around here is pretty big. But that was kind of one of the motivations is, okay, I have a kid now and I have a wife. What are my priorities going to be? Do I want to stay in a full-time cowboy position where you're making $2,000 a month? Then you got to pay your taxes and all that, or am I going to shift a little bit? And that was kind of the motivation for that.
Yeah. Well, I commend you, man. It's a very difficult thing. I did an episode a couple of months ago, and the title of the episode was "How You Feel Doesn't Matter," and I deeply believe this as a man. What you want to do and what you should do are typically two totally different things. And I personally believe that if you submit to this, to the king, right? If you're sitting there with God and you go, all right, Lord, I would love nothing more than to wake up every morning at Dr. Yearland's, but I can't see that right now. I don't know how physically I can do that. I don't know how time-wise I can do that. I don't know how monetarily I can do that. So it's yours. Open hands, take it away from me. Either destroy the craving, take that away, take the thought from me, or let it be yours. If you want me to do it, then you'll figure it out. But you just guide me in the direction I should go. And then that's where I want to go. And this is like a daily thing, dude. Like I wake up every morning and I'm like, all right, Lord, what's on the agenda? What's the plan? Because I truly believe that he's going to call me into things that I don't want to do on purpose to harden me and make me a warrior. Like very rarely does your boss or your coach or the person guiding you in life give you the easiest task on earth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's what I kind of look to is like, all right, Lord, what are you asking me to do in this season? And right now what it looks like is financials for 310, managing the rope shop. And like I rope like once a year, dude. I don't rope. I just sell ropes and make videos, and Dad and Abby go get film. And that's what he's asked me to do in this time. And it's rough. I mean, it's like a battle day to day, like, cause I'm sure it's the same with you choosing between day work and climbing under a horse to nail some shoes on. It's like, I would much rather be out there sticking it on one than climbing under this horse right now. But it's what God is requiring me to do to be a good father. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I found a pretty good balance, thankfully. Like I said, if you know what you're doing around here, the day work is, the need for day work is pretty high. Mm-hmm. So it's not, I mean, I'm still day working 2, sometimes 3 days a week. Mm-hmm. Sometimes like branding season last year, it was almost a month and a half of straight branding. So I still have all that. And I feel like God has blessed me naturally with the farrier side of stuff too. So when I first went to farrier school, it was just to learn how to do my own so I could move out west and work for a place, because most of those places you have to do your own. Mm-hmm. And I got out of school and I felt like it would have been a total waste if I didn't use that knowledge to not even really career minded. It was more helping horses. A lot of the specialty jobs, like with vet clinics and stuff, those are what's satisfying to me. That's what I really enjoy. Mm-hmm. And that switches over to the horse side of stuff because it's all horsemanship, whether I'm under them or on top. There's days I don't really want to go shoe a horse, obviously, but as a general whole, I do enjoy it. And it's still horsemanship. It's just underneath versus on top.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's kind of, you find that a lot. Like some of the guys I've talked to on the podcast previous, the horsemen, like, they just like all of it. They love shoeing them. They love riding them. They love teaching them. They love watching them learn. And like, it's just this all encompassing thing that it, from the foot to the brain, is just, they just dig it. There's this guy I interviewed. His name's Michael Clausen, Buck and K Horsemanship. I'm sure you've seen him on Facebook throwing.
Oh yeah, I've seen his roping stuff. Yeah, monster turnovers. Super cool interview, dude. Like just super cool guy. Like, and he kind of, man, he went into like the science behind stuff, and I like 5 minutes in, I was like, hey, buddy.
you're way over here. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know what you're talking about, man. Like, you're so far above my head. But he's just a student of it, you know what I mean? Which is pretty fun to listen to a guy like that talk about it. With that being said, Mark, talk about your experience learning horsemanship. Kind of what's that like? You're a younger guy that obviously from the videos, and I'm going to commend you right now. Videoing yourself doing this stuff makes it 10 times harder. And then the hate is just legendary. People always got something to say. That's kind of a fun part of the social media, is learning to harden your mind against the fence sitters, so to speak. But what I'm getting at here is your journey with horsemanship. Talk a little bit about your philosophy and kind of who taught you and how you got there. And then I'm curious to know if any of those principles that you use with your horse have aided you in fatherhood and husbandry with your wife and your son.
So it's kind of all over the place. It's not really a straight path for me. So back when I was 14, probably, I think. Yeah, like late 14. I was pretty soon to turn 15. I had got an offer from a place, would have been west of us at the time, to come help them through Paving. So we did online classes, or I did at least. I graduated from an online class, kind of homeschool, I guess. So it kind of opened doors for me where other kids maybe wouldn't have. So they asked me to come calve for them. And after that calving season, it was supposed to be over. So I said, sure, I'll come. It was only supposed to be a few months. Well, I had got a call during that time that my mother was going to move my little brother at the time it was just us two left in the house. She was going to move my younger brother back to Pennsylvania, and which we're not from Pennsylvania, but we had went to a private school there at some point. And basically it was, do I want to stay where I'm at or do I want to go with them? So my mother and dad were split most of my childhood. And I said, no, I have no desire to go back to Pennsylvania. This is the path I want to try. And at 14 years old, not very many kids can comprehend that. And a lot of parents can't either, because I couldn't imagine my boy moving out at 14. So I moved in with it was only supposed to be a few months of calving, moved in with my sister and brother-in-law. They kind of took me in. I did school in their basement, and it was their father's place. So that kind of opened up the door for me to start the ranching side. I started fencing. Most of my first 2 years of working there was just fencing every day, which I don't know about you, but fencing is not that fun.
No.
Then I kind of started to see the cowboy side of stuff, and I was like, man, I really want to do that. Like, that looks way more fun. That just seemed more thrilling. And I'm kind of already an adrenaline junkie. I chase the adrenaline in stuff. So I kind of moved over to that, and there were some people in this area and one of my older brothers that kind of helped start get me into stuff, but they're completely opposite style. They're like shorter ropes, at the time had rubber on their horns. It's just completely different style. So I started getting into that stuff. My horsemanship was pretty rough. I almost feel sorry for some of my first horses. Didn't have any clue what I was doing. Then I kind of have you seen that? Everybody's probably seen it in this industry, that picture that the Western Horseman had that was buckaroo and cowpuncher side by side, and the differences. That's where I had first seen it. And I was like, man, what is a buckaroo? And I kind of just kept flipping. I didn't think anything of it. And then furthermore, I started kind of thinking, I'm like, man, there's got to be an easier way to do this. Like, you shouldn't have to run everything down. Obviously, if there's a retreat or something wild, you have to run it down, but you shouldn't have to. And there's got to be a better way for the horse. Well, then I kind of found you guys on YouTube. You guys and Pat Puckett. Pat Puckett was a big influencer on me too. But it was the earlier days. I don't know where you guys were. You guys weren't where you are now. It was really green, kind of smaller crap. So Alabama. Who's that? I forget his name. He used to go and help you guys. He always wore kind of a short brim, flat hat.
Travis Newman.
Travis Newman. Yes, I seen that guy on one of your guys' videos, and I was like, I don't know who that guy is, but I want to be like that guy. Like, he's just cool. He can throw cool shots. but that was kind of my inspiration into the buckaroo. So then that got me curious of what the buckaroo actually was, like the history, where it came from, why they wear flat brims, why they use long ropes. So then I got more into the Pat Puckett style of stuff too, or listening to him and his horsemanship, his reasoning behind the whole bridle horse stuff, the loop stuff. And I couldn't rope a 5-gallon bucket when I started. I was absolutely terrible. But I would watch your guys' videos. I'd watch Pat's videos. I'd go outside and I'd video myself roping. And then I'd sit there and slow them down like frame by frame so I could see exactly what I'm doing wrong and go back out and do it again. Because like I said, I had my older brother and a couple other people here. But now that I'm chasing a completely different style that those guys have no clue what it is, now I'm on my own. So between watching videos, which is awesome that we have that tool now, I can't say I taught myself, but I had to do extra work for myself while watching your guys' videos to be able to figure all that stuff out. That's what kind of got me into the horsemanship side of stuff as well, especially the Pat Puckett style horsemanship. And then really after I got married to Bailey, she helped me out tremendously too, because before that, I would say I probably saw a horse as a tool, not really a partner. And she really helped tame my heart down, I guess, and soften my heart enough to see a horse now as a partner. And she helped me tremendously horsemanship-wise. By far a better horseman than I am, but she helped teach me that stuff. So, yeah, I would say it definitely portrays into being a husband and a father, because I feel like it's softened my heart all the way around to be able to do that. I'm not saying I'm a perfect husband or father by no means. Very rough around the edges, but it has helped me open my eyes to be a softer person for those scenarios now.
Mm-hmm. I find that a lot of the horsemanship principles, man, they help with my fatherhood more than anything else I've ever learned how to do. And I've never trained dogs, like working dogs. I've trained some of my own dogs, but they weren't cow dogs or nothing, just teaching them obedience, and that stuff really, it all runs together. Like communicating with something non-verbally, or with short commands, or like all those principles apply, right? Like patience in the proper position, or make the right thing easy, the wrong thing hard, as least as possible, as much as necessary. Those things, like, air, hair, skin, bone, like all those things are real when it comes to teaching a young person how to be respectful and how to live in life and cause and effect. And then if you take anybody listening who doesn't read the Bible much, or has a hard time reading the Bible, that's something that I've struggled with my whole life. And if you're a father of a young son or daughter, you can take your horsemanship principles and mix them with Proverbs. Like read Proverbs. There's 31 chapters of Proverbs for a reason. One a day keeps the stupid away, buddy. That is that book there will change your life if you get in it deep. So those things have really helped me out when it comes to communicating with my wife and my children. But that's interesting, man. That's very different than my own path. And like most guys get on here and they're like, yeah, there's this one guy, right? So my one guy would be John Darnell. Even though I didn't start, I mean, I literally did not pick up a rope and rope a live animal until I was your age. But my dad was there with me every step of the way, and I didn't grow up with him. My folks were divorced. I was just a drunk restaurant manager that needed a job. And he offered me a job that drinking wasn't available, And so I went out there and just fell in love with it. And kind of like you, for the first 2 years, all I did was put out hay and drag off deads and freaking fix fence. Like that was kind of the deal. And he came to me and he said, there's two jobs here. There's what you do and what I do. And if you want to do what I do, you need to learn how to use this rope. And he handed me a rope and he started teaching me. And I was just, quite frankly, it was a God-given ability. Like I can just manipulate a rope. Like I'm just good at it. And I think that if you teach enough clinics, you can see it the second you see somebody. It's like when they pick up to swing, if they've never swung a rope before, you can immediately recognize like, that dude's got a little something going on right there. Even though he doesn't know.
100%.
Yeah, he's got something going on. And so that's interesting that because if you were 14 when you started, and that was roughly 11 years ago, we'd have started 310, like the YouTube channel, in probably 2017, 16 or 17 is when we started posting pretty heavy. That is wild to me.
I bet it was probably around that 2016, 17 when I started watching too. Because like I said, so I started working for that place at 14, but it was 2 years of fencing before I got involved. So I remember the first time I seen the YouTube channel, there was only like 3 videos posted. And then every time they'd come out, I'd watch that sucker 5, 6 times so I could figure out what am I doing wrong? What do I need to learn? Like, this is cool stuff. I don't know how long Pat's been on YouTube, but it was same thing with his. If I go back to the videos I watched of him, they're way down there, like before he had any sort of clinics going on or anything. So it's cool to see. And sitting here now on a podcast with you, that would have been like never even dreamed of at that point.
Oh, well, I have people call me off this thing, dude, and they'll call my cell phone and I pick up and I'm like, hey, this is Dalton, and they're like, what? I can't believe you picked up the phone. I'm like, bro, dog, I'm in the car rider line picking my kid up from kindergarten, and I'm like a normal guy, like I just like to rope stuff, man, and it's funny because you get this. And we've experienced this going to workplaces and at rope-ins, and people have a preconceived notion of who you are because they see you on the internet. And it's not true. Like they make it up in their brain of what kind of guy you are, what kind of person would post these sorts of things, and really honestly, this whole thing started to pay homage to guys who do what you do. Like, people don't have no clue how hard this stuff is. They have no idea how hard this job is. And it's fun. Like if it's in you to do it, you'll go do it for the rest of your life. But it is difficult, man. Like the suffering that you endure as a cowhand, all the way from getting paid nothing because you love to do it to literally riding some dink 25 miles in the snow. Like there's this whole spectrum of suffering that's endured by these guys who just quite frankly, in their own brain, were born to do it. Like God made 100%. Me to do this.
I feel like the family during that period too, they also take a huge sacrifice, your wife, your kid, all of that. It's ever since Hollywood started, or I don't know if it was really Hollywood, but that didn't help with that whole Yellowstone thing. It's like a fantasy to a lot of people now, and they think it's cool and fun until they start finding out the details of it, and then that's what turns some people away. So a lot of kids will come to me, ask how to get into it. I'll try to find them a job locally here. I've done it several times for kids. And I'll talk to the ranch and, hey, did they ever call? No, they never called. Well, when it came down to that call, or it came down to, hey, you might have to fence for a couple of years or drag off dead for a couple of years, that's what turns people away. It has become a fantasy, and that is the sad part. That's not to say everybody can't do it, but not everybody's willing to do what you have to do to start getting into it.
No, heck no, man. You got to work for free, dude. It's for free. I'm serious. Like, I mean... You can't, nobody pays. They don't pay because you can't. You can't pay. It's part of the game, dude. It's part of the game. So, well, with all that being said, excuse me. So with that being said, let's talk. Didn't you have a pretty bad wreck like a year ago?
Yeah. So I was still working for that. It's probably 2 years ago now. I was still working for, so that ranch that I had started out on, you want up, bub? That ranch that I had started out on, after I moved on from that, so I'd worked there till I was 18, I think, when I joined the Guards. That's when I had left, because my whole goal was to get as much knowledge as possible in other areas. Because you stay in one spot your whole life, you're going to kind of get stagnant. So So we were in Colorado at the time after we got married, and they had asked if we could come back to help because they were shorthanded. So I came back. So there were several years of not being there. Then 2 years ago, we were there again. And we were actually I think we had unloaded a couple trucks of potloads of cattle, and that place was feeding for somebody else. And we were all moving them down an alley and into one of their feeding pens just to hold them overnight. And all I was doing is I was in the alleyway, and there's a couple hundred heifers, probably, maybe 100, I don't remember. And they were pushing them, and I was turning them in. Well, one heifer tried to skirt the gate, just at a walk. So I just slowly turned around and went to walk off to get around her, and my horse lost its footing, and it came up and crushed my leg right on the crown of a road. So it made a perfect snapping point for my leg. So it basically just broke out the whole center chunk of my lower leg. So there's nothing really preventable. And I believe I had sharps on at the time too, but it was right after storm, so we had tons of ice and it's just slick. And then that put me out. I don't think I could start walking for like 6 months, and then I was on a cane for a long time after that. And then after that, I was in a boot for a long time, so it really slowed down what I did for a job.
Man, gosh, that's terrible. My dad had man, he was standing, they were like, so down here, everybody sorts on foot. And he was sorting cattle, and they were sorting like 850-pound big-eared Bramers, just big nasties, dude. And he was off the end of like a 16-foot iron gate. And he was standing on the end of that gate sorting, he was just working the gate. And they told him to catch this calf, and it came running down the alleyway, Mach 9, and he opened the gate and was just standing right behind it. And instead of just hitting the hole, that calf tried to jump that gate and hit the top rung of the gate with his belly and slammed him into a cross tie. And it snapped his leg probably in the same spot yours did, down there on the shin pretty much.
Yep.
Snapped both bones and smashed his head against that cross tie, and it peeled his darn ear smooth off his head, and it was just hanging up here by a piece of skin.
Nasty.
So they took him in, sewed his ear back on, and they had to cut his boot off, which that's just, it makes me sick thinking about somebody cutting my boot off. Like, they're my most prized possession, if I'm being honest with you.
I actually had a pack boot on at the time because it was cold. A Kennetrek pack boot, and I had told all the nurses and then my wife and siblings that met me out the hospital, I said, do not cut my pack boot, whatever you do. So they're like, okay. So they tried pulling it off, and I was like, nope, just cut it off.
Cut the boot. Cut the boot.
Yeah.
That's tough. So did the ranch, so you weren't day working, were you?
No, I was at that ranch still.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good because they got insurance and stuff. If you're day working and that happens, is it just on you to cover it? How's that work?
Yeah. If you got insurance, it pays it. We actually, thankfully, I had still been on a different insurance previously too, because that ranch really didn't have the insurance that is large enough to cover that. So a lot of it was still on us. And today, we still get bills from it once in a while. You know how hospitals are; they can wait 3-4 years before they send you a bill. So yeah, no, that.
Were you in the military still?
I got out 2 years ago. So the Guard has I don't know if active is the same way, but it's a 6 years inactive, 2 years, or 6 years active, 2 years inactive for the Guard. So I did 6 years time with the monthly drills and stuff. And then I think this past year was the end of my 2 years inactive. So that would have been 8 years total.
Okay. And
something
you were
like
Army
that.
Guard?
Yep. National Guard, Army National Guard.
Yeah, I was in the Air National Guard. Man, that insurance was sweet.
Yeah, I had other insurance at the time, so I actually never experienced their insurance. Everybody thought I was dumb, but I didn't get bonuses. I didn't get insurance. I wasn't there for that. So.
No, man, we had so Wiley, like I said, was 9 weeks early, and his freaking NICU bill was like $250,000, and they paid all of it.
Yeah, that's what some of the guys in my
paid $600. It saved us because we'd be paying on that forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sending them $100 a month for the rest of our lives. So did you like the military? Did you enjoy that?
So yes and no. If somebody's ever on the fence about it, I tell them, like, as long as that's what you're wanting to do, do it, because you're not going to regret it in the end. But for the guard, I wish I would have just went active right away and done what I had goals. So my goals were really just to serve, and I wanted to go on a deployment. That's what I wanted to do. That's the only reason I joined, was to serve, and the ultimate way to serve is a deployment. So I didn't get bonuses. I didn't get college. I didn't go for any of that stuff. So guard, especially, most kids are there for your college, your benefits, your insurance. So the mentality and mindset that I was around all the time was just not my thing. My other brother was actually, he's active now, but he was in my unit for a while with me, and we were almost looked at as, like, everybody kind of avoided us in the unit because we were such overachievers, and it wasn't for any recognition. We just, like, we were there to do what we were doing. Or like NTC, when we were in NTC, I'd wake up in the middle of a desert and I'm like, man, it's a beautiful morning. Take a picture of the sunset, and all these guys around me are like, what is wrong with you? So I was tired of the really, honestly, laziness. It was just toxic almost to be around, because nobody was motivated. So for that reason, I felt like I could do more outside of the guard now versus in. But looking back at it, I should have just went active duty, because that would have been a little more up my alley for those 6 years. But
Yeah, those guys.
I don't regret it by any means.
No, and I don't either. But see, I went and worked on the ranch. So I went to basic training. And then when I got back, I had a 5-month break before tech school. And that's when I worked on the ranch for the first time. And so that 5 months, I was like, I'm just doing this to get to tech school, and then I'm going to get a job on base as an airplane mechanic. And so I went to tech school for 7 months, and then came back, and I got a job on base as an airplane mechanic. I was making like $28 an hour. And I made it 3 months, and I went to care, and I was like, I hate this. Like, I hate it. I hate the guys I'm working with. They're freaking lazy and sorry, and they don't want to be there. They just sit in the chair and cut a check, and I can't do this. I can't do this for the rest of my life. So I quit making $28 an hour to make $100 a day, dragging off deads and pulling wire. You know what I mean? Yep. And it was the same thing you're explaining. Not that they're bad guys, but that environment of the guard creates lazy people.
I would agree 100%. And if there's any recruiter that watches this, they might be a little upset or contacting us, but it's 100% true. And I even tried to go up to higher up, which they kind of frown upon. But a lot of the lower level NCOs you'd go to them about something and it would never go above them. They'd try to hide it or get pushed under. So I actually went up to try to explain it and explain my reasoning, and just same thing. Everybody's there to make, what was it, $200 a month. So
yep.
Yeah, I just
cut a check and go to the house and get the insurance. And look, man, a recruiter, call me. I'll argue with you till I'm blue in the face. I mean, I did it. I went to drill every month for 6 years, and I worked there for those 3 months. And like, I know exactly what it's like. Yeah. And it's funny. You probably laugh at this too, but you watch what Elon Musk and those guys are doing, finding, the military calls it fraud, waste, and abuse. Yeah. It's like, this whole thing is fraud, waste, and abuse. What are you guys talking about? What's funny, dude, the comparisons between the cowboy culture, the guys you work with cowboying, and that's what'll spin your head. And you're like, bro, there's a guy out here that will outwork you, out hustle you 100 times over. And you got to do everything you can do just to keep up with them. And it's just because they love what they do. Yep, exactly. And that's who I wanted to be around. Those are the kinds of people I wanted to be around. That's funny, man. If those types of people would have been in the guard, I would have stayed in for 100%. 100%. But there's just no motivation, nothing. No, because some of the stuff you're doing is fun, like shooting guns and taking airplanes apart, and like that. Some of that stuff's cool, And if you had people who were really gung ho about it, like, the guy that you push cattle up with, trying to figure out how to slip around and get their dog to do something. And like, they're just studying it the whole time. And you had your rare people, your few people. I can think of a few names in my head right now, the guys in my unit that were awesome, that were really cool, but they move them because they got to have them somewhere else because everybody in that shop's sorry, so they take that guy and put him in charge of those people. And then you're just sitting there in a recliner with everybody else cutting their check. And
exactly.
It was terrible. It was good for me. I needed it. So if anybody listening is like, I feel like I need a huge change in my life, the military will give that to you.
I would agree. It definitely was what kind of opened the doors for me in some ways, because really I'm a pretty naturally anxious person, especially when I was younger, just because of some of the stuff. And the military kind of forced me to overcome that stuff. I mean, when you're in basic training, who cares? Nobody cares if you get anxious about something or nobody cares. So that kind of forced me to now in life, I'll take risks. Yeah, it might be nervous about that risk, but I know how to overcome those nervousness, and I'm willing to take risks now. So 100%, it was needed. I needed it too. I don't regret it at all, but I didn't enjoy it.
Were you married when you went in, or did you go in before you got married?
No, I was 17 when I joined. Bailey and I didn't get married until 21. So I joined in 2017, and her and I didn't get married till 21.
So now I see a lot of stuff online, but you can clarify this for me. So your wife is a business owner, correct?
Yes, we have several business adventures.
So explain that to me. Now, what do y'all got going on?
So we have my farrier business. We have my day work. We have, I do some leather work on the side. It's not a full-fledged business, but it is, I still make money off of it sometimes. She has her Cowgal supply, which is like her tallow lotions, her clothing, her devotional books, what you can go on Cowgal Supply and you can see it all. She's got a pile of stuff. We raise horses, not on a huge level, on a very manageable level. We did own cows at one point. We had to sell those due to lack of pasture. What else? Did I miss any? We pretty much make money. Yeah, really anything that we have hobby-wise, we try. Clinics. I started getting into clinics, and I'd like to expound on that more. And there was a lot of interest in it. So really anything we try to do, not that we're always trying to scrounge to find money, or we don't have goals or ambitions of being rich by any means, but that's just, her and I are very entrepreneur minded. So we're not afraid to take a risk to maybe make a business at something. And I would say really within the last year, her business has really taken off. So yeah, that's pretty much what she's doing now.
Man, that's awesome. And it's funny because the reason I asked that question is that's how Kara is. So we spent basically, a large portion of our marriage after childbirth trying to get her home so she could take care of the babies and do the mom thing. She made it about 3 months before that old mind went to turning. She's like, I could do this and this and this and this and this and this. And my wife makes way more money than me. Like the businesses she started, it's not even close, buddy. Like the woman's a genius. It's insane. So I can I don't know Bailey personally, obviously, but just through watching on social media, I'm like, man, she's got it in her, dude. Like she's getting after it, which is awesome. That's really cool. I have a lot of respect for that because it's hard, man. And it's easy for somebody to just sit at home and do nothing. And it's hard for somebody to step out there and do something worthwhile. Because basically all the things, when you're talking about business ventures, right, and trying to figure this stuff out, and I'm sure y'all are just like us in the regard of like, you're trying to figure it out on your own for the most part. You don't have some, rich uncle you can call and be like, hey, what does this mean? So you're just kind of doing your own research and figuring out how to build your own website and shoot your own content and ship your own stuff. Like shipping profiles alone on shipping websites is a nightmare. Like I still don't fully understand it. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And like, if you don't have, it's like some guru you could give $5,000 to, say, hey, will you set this up for me? You got to figure all that out on your own. So I commend you and your wife. That's a really cool thing. And it will serve you for the rest of your life and your son. We always look at it like we're paving the road. And then by the time Wiley's old enough, he'll be able to just drive on the road. We'll have kind of knocked our head enough times to where he can just step behind the wheel and go, okay, he's going to have to learn his own stuff for sure. But you kind of get what I'm getting at there.
Yep. Yeah, that's kind of our goal too, I would say, is one, trying to establish a place. So like we rent the place we're at right now, and we'd like to step into owning our own place. So that's kind of one motivation behind it. And the other is neither of us had anything, not anything. I don't think I was ever given a dime other than the $5 birthday cards that everybody got. So we would like to be able to hand something to our kids. So I seen this, I actually posted on my story one time. I seen somebody said, we chose to have a kid. The kid didn't choose to be born. Now, granted, we believe God gave us him. So it was God's plan that we had him. But still, he didn't choose to be born. We chose to have a kid. So he owes us nothing. We owe him everything. And that's kind of what we go into. We'd like to be able to hand him something someday, or get him something that'll boost start him, so he doesn't have to start from rock bottom like we did and just let it build.
Yeah, that's facts, dude. And that's the way to look at it. I mean, period, end of story. Your folks were divorced, correct?
Yeah. I think they divorced when I was 3 or something. So I don't even remember that but they were split the whole time we were growing up.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing about it. Anybody out there suffering in their marriage, and you have children, you fix that thing. Go to counseling. Seek God. Do what you have to do, because there's two men sitting on this screen in front of you right now, or you're listening on your AirPods driving down the road, that had to overcome way more than was required because of our parents.
Yeah.
And I can say that, and it's just a dadgum fact. It's a fact that God designed this thing in a way to where I should be able to walk with my son's mother and show them how to be in the world. And dadgummit, if you don't do it, they're starting from way behind the line, like way over there behind the freaking line. And as a father, it's your freaking responsibility. That's whose responsibility is. It's not mine. I was a kid. Mark was a kid. And his kid is a kid, and my kids are kids. And so it's our responsibility as fathers to go, okay, I'm going to do whatever it takes to love this guy and love his mother and give. I was telling my mom last night, I said, the best thing I can do for my son, period, end of story, no questions asked, is show him a man loving a woman, me loving his mother. He should meet his wife and say, I had a perfect example, or the best example I could have had of my dad loving my mom. And all of that rotates back around, right? So lots of people will say, the best thing you can do for your kids is introduce them to Jesus. I completely agree with that. But what does Jesus say for husbands to do for their wives? To do what Christ did for the church, to freaking die for them, son. To die for them. So my dad can tell me as much as he wants, right? As much as he wants. Jesus is king. He saved me, yada, yada, yada. Well, half of that is saying that. The other half is dying for his mother, my son's mother, right? Dying for your wife in front of your children. Day in and day out. It doesn't look like taking a bullet. It looks like doing the things that are required, doing the hard things, having the hard conversations, working on your relationship, right? Like these things are paramount for your son to see along with letting them watch you apologize. Like, it's crazy to me that we walk through life trying to never show our sons our faults because we want to be their heroes. But then you end up with a grown man who has no clue how to apologize to his wife. Well, how was I supposed to learn that if my dad never showed me? You know what I mean?
Exactly. You still have to teach them that they are capable of becoming humble. And that's the biggest thing I think for us guys, whoever's listening, is if there's a problem at home, which nobody's marriage is perfect. And that's where we'll have people come to us, even at our age, for advice. And we have to let them know, like, nobody's marriage is perfect. Mm-hmm. But for a guy especially, with us being as afraid to be wrong, or we're wanting to be the big old macho leaders, is admitting that what's going on could be because of you. Like, what could I do to change? What am I doing wrong that could have caused this situation? And I'm speaking to myself while I'm saying that, because there's stuff I still got to work on. But we actually just this last Saturday talked about that in our men's Bible study. Is, okay, so admitting you're wrong, admitting you could be the problem, but admitting you're the root cause of the problem. Because you can say, there's people that say, well, I shouldn't have done this, but I wouldn't have done this if it wasn't for her doing this. Mm-hmm. No, get rid of all that. What would it look like if you said, I should have done that different, and I was the reason I acted like that? You didn't think of anything else, just I in that. Like, that would change everybody's perspective. And like I said, I'm talking to myself too, because I still got stuff to work on. But that in and of itself makes a big difference when you're going into whatever the circumstance might be that day with your marriage.
Well, that's the whole point of this podcast, Mark, is we all deserve wrath. God saved us, and then learning from each other's mistakes. That's it. Wisdom is the wise application of failure. So if I can share my failures on here to these people listening, and they can learn anything from it, anything at all, then that's a win, dude. Like and when I was your age, like when I joined the military and quit the restaurant world, I started searching for something. I didn't really know what it was. It was God is what it was, but I didn't know that at the time. I was like, I need to be a better man. Like, I'm about to get married. This woman is going to depend on me. How do I be a good guy? Like, I don't know how to do that. And so do you ever listen to Jocko Willink?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So Jocko, if you listen to podcasts, you should jump on. It is good stuff. But kind of one of his main principles is extreme ownership. Like, no matter what, it's on you. Own it. You know, he was a Navy SEAL, commander in the Navy SEALs, all sorts of things. It's great stuff. But if you start applying that extreme ownership principle to your life, it changes your whole outlook. It's like your wife is just a woman that's here to love you and depend on you and share life with you, right? Like, I got this tattoo on my ring finger. You can't see it because of the light. And it's Ecclesiastes 9:9. And basically it says your wife is a gift from God for all of your miserable days on earth. My granddad told me that was his favorite verse the day I got married. And I was like, yeah, we're getting that.
Yeah, I can see
that. We're getting that bled in, you know? But it's one of those things where, you know, and I have guys similar to you that'll call and we talk about marriage and fatherhood and blah, 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 all the things. And one of my favorites, do you have your ear pods in? Can Bailey hear me?
She's actually putting Gus down for a nap now. So they're in a different room.
Okay. Cause we're about to get into the man space here a little bit. Wanted to make sure we're kosher. One of my favorite things a guy will call and say, right, is they'll be like, well, my wife, you know, she never wants to sleep with me, right? And the guy that I'm looking at is weighing about 275, hadn't groomed himself in 3.5 years. And I'm like, well, whose fault is that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I had this realization a couple of years ago. I was like, well, if that's something I want to expect out of my wife, well, I need to expect a whole lot more out of me to remain attractive. to a certain degree. You know what I'm saying? And these are the things we get fat and we get lazy and we don't take care of ourselves. And then we look across the living room at our wife and go, I don't understand why you don't do your job. Well, just like you just said, you're really not looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
Figuratively and literally. You know what I mean? And these are the kind of things when you say that to a fella, they're like, huh. Well, that kind of makes some sense, you know, like a guy searching
like
for
a light
something
bulb.
like, yeah, man, I'm kind of fat and nasty, you know, like, when's the last time you brushed your teeth, old son? Gross, you know? Like,
everybody always uses that.
It's a good example.
Everybody always uses that the body is a temple for certain things. Like they'll use it for like drugs or alcohol or whatever. But what about fitness? You know what I mean? Or I'll see... even going into our lifestyle with horsemanship and stuff, like if we're expecting a certain level of performance out of our horse, in my opinion, and I might get hate for saying this, but we should ask it of ourselves before we ask it of that horse. 100%.
100%.
Like, why would I want and force my horse to be in perfect competing shape, but I'm not in perfect competing shape? And that's where I don't know why.
Back you around.
Yeah, exactly. And then they got to carry around while being in peak performance. That's
100%.
Yeah, I don't know. People will take certain stuff like that, like the body's a temple, but they apply it to what they want it to be applied to. Whereas it can be applied to everything, like as a whole, whether it be fitness, grooming yourself, just simply staying clean, and then also with your horses. Like I feel sorry for some people's horses, straight up,
buddy. The empathy that, and I don't have a lot of that. You hear me? I didn't get a ton of empathy when I was made, but boy, when you watch some big back sucker climb up on some poor little mare and you're like, come on, man. I mean, dang it, dude.
Yeah.
Come on, you know? And then they're like, man, she won't turn around fat. Like, me neither, dude. I wouldn't either turn around fat. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, the heart behind all of this, and I'm sure Mark knows this, but I say this every episode. Like me and Richard's episode, we kind of dove in on this a little bit, you know, like taking care of yourself and doing the things. And I'm not saying these things to make fun of you. I'm not saying these things to put you down. I'm saying these things to call you to action. If God expects us to be warriors for him, you need to be that. You need to look at the way your life is built to do those things. Because fighting while fat is not a good time. It's not good. You need to take care of yourself. I don't care what anybody says. Like, just go walk. I don't know. That's interesting. It's funny. It's funny because most men, or at least the men that I've been around, can take a lick. You know what I mean? Like you can look at a guy and go, you're a fat sucker. You know what I mean? And they'll be like, yeah, you're right. You know? But that's not the premise of what I'm saying. The premise of what I'm saying is that you should expect more out of yourself. Yeah. You should look in the mirror and you should call yourself to action. And that's what we're here to do. That's part of the goal for this whole thing, because I'm not in perfect shape by any means. It's a work in progress. It's just like horsemanship or anything. Like you spend your whole life trying to stay physically fit because the world wants to poison you. And that's a fact, Jack. The world doesn't want you to be healthy because they make more money, I think, if you're just sick and debilitated. But anyways, let's see. So let's talk about roping, Mark. What you got coming up? You got any big ropings coming up?
Events that I'm going to, or clinics?
Both. Let's do clinics first. Let's do clinics first.
As of right now, there's no clinics currently planned. For us, it's pretty hard to plan something right now unless we plan it like really late summer because, well, 2 days ago, it was almost 80 degrees and now there's 6 to 8 inches of snow on the ground. So we could plan a clinic for April or May, and it might get snowed out. So we kind of got to wait and see what the spring's going to be like. The other thing for our area, it seems like down south where you guys are, even Colorado, cattle to release for these events are pretty easy to come by. Here up in our country, it's really hard to find cattle that first, you got to find people that are willing to lease your cattle. Second off, you got to find cattle that are able to be roped by beginners. Because as you know, you might have somebody that's doctored in the pasture, but he's just looking for that little extra advice. And then you have a kid that's never swung a rope before. So you got to have cattle that aren't going to just feel a rope and tear off fucking down the thing. So that's proving to be challenging. We're kind of trying to figure out and learn and get contacts for cattle for stuff like that. Because there's a lot of need and want for clinics in our hometown here. So we're trying to make that happen. We just don't have anything set yet. Events that I've gone to, I have never, to this day, I've never gone to a big loop roping. I'd like to get into them. I did some ranch rodeos here last summer. And I'd like to try the big loop style stuff, or the big loop competitions. Obviously, I incorporate that in my pasture doctrine, but competing is pretty new to me. I do know there was talks of putting together a veteran team for the Pro-Am. I got a phone call, and some of the guys were trying to get me to be on their team. I don't know if that fizzled out or not. I think those guys listen to your podcast, so we'll see. So maybe I'll be at the Pro-Am. J.W. Phillips was one of them.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Did you meet Cope Wilson? Did you meet Cope Wilson at the Pro-Am? That Canadian ex-Special Forces guy? He was hanging out at the Pro-Am. I know that.
Maybe.
He was the guy that called and said that they were putting the team together. But I don't know. The only team member that I know that was going to be in it was J.W. All the other guys I've never met.
Is his name James?
Honestly, I don't really know. I haven't actually met him in person. I just know him from Instagram mainly.
I'm almost positive because he called me a couple months back. I actually met him in the concession stand line at the Pro-Am, and he was like, I've never eaten a hot dog. And so I was like, what?
Really?
Eating a freaking hot dog? What kind of weirdo's never eaten a hot dog? And he called me, and he was like, bro, I tried the hot dog. It was terrible.
Yeah, he's a Marine. He used to clams in a bun, not a hot dog.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, but I know he's the only one that I know of that I know who he is that was going to be on the team. So I don't know. Maybe I'll be at the Pro-Am. Maybe I won't be. There was talk of that. I don't know. So the hard part for us to do big clinics and events like this is we aren't, like, I feel like people see our TikTok and like our first clinic that we did, they were like, that's your rig over there? Like, yeah, it has a bale bed on it and it's an old $1,200 pipe trailer. Like, we don't have a big old living quarters and brand new pickup. So distance is hard for us because we are the perfect example of working class. We do not have super new vehicles. So like the Pro-Am, for instance, I'd have to jump in with somebody. So we'll see if that works or not. But that's another struggle for us with these clinics is we don't have fancy stuff to travel. We have 97 Dodge and a super old 60s pipe trailer that we pull behind it. So we're limited with the miles.
I mean, that's the real deal, dude. If it's, I don't know if this is encouraging or braggadocious, but that's where we started. Like when we started 310, like Dad and Joni owned a Camry, a Toyota Camry, and then that was it. I had like a 1500 pickup truck that I drove to and from work, but he drove the ranch truck. I mean, like that was the perk of the job. You know what I mean? Like that's part of the pay is getting a truck. So I totally get it. The first clinic we ever did, the first one-man clinic we ever did, there was like 15 guys in it. We did it in Tennessee, and like 11 of the 15 trailers were half tops, and we were like, this is freaking awesome. Like, this is what you want. You know, these guys are literally looking for it. You know what I mean? It was really cool, which we hadn't done a one-man clinic, and I can't even remember the last time we did a one-man clinic. I did some one-man stuff. I did a clinic 2 weeks ago in North Carolina, and they were having a one-man competition on Saturday. And on Friday, they were like, hey, can you go through some of the one-man stuff? And I was on a borrowed horse, which you know as well as I do. That's that can be uncomfortable. So I show up, I teach the 3-man clinic, and they're like, hey, can you show the 1-man stuff? And so I get on there, or I get in there and I'm like, okay, I don't really know how this is going to go, because I mean, if I had my horse, I mean, I know exactly what he's going to do. Like, he's right there with me, he's done it a million times, and so I got her done, but it was not very pretty.
And a lot of people don't realize
roping
that.
steers, but do what?
A lot of people don't realize that with the 1-man. And I think I kind of took that for granted going into my first clinic last year too, is how much goes into a 1-man doctoring. If you do it every day, that's one thing. I'm not talking short rope, flipping it over the hip and making them flop 400 times before they stop. I'm talking like calm, tripping them. Your horse has to know what's going on too. Like if you get on a green horse or like you were on a borrowed horse, that horse may have never done that before. So it's not going to have any clue what you're doing. And that's kind of, I didn't realize it until that clinic, but that really is the true test of your horsemanship, your roping, your slack handling, all of that, because you're your own lifeline. Even when you get on the ground, now what? Like, are you going to be able to control that thing? Or is it going to get up and run your butt over and drag your rope across the pasture? And I kind of took that for granted, but I realized it pretty quick in that clinic because I had ambitions to do a 1-man side of it, and that proved to be pretty difficult for beginners. So,
yeah. Well, that was my one question. I said it before I started. I was like, if Seabiscuit here doesn't hold this rope when I get on the ground, we're going to be in, this is going to be a problem. This is going to get ugly real fast. And Seabiscuit did a good job. He held the rope, and I was pretty quick about it. Like, I got off and I kept my split reins, and I was like, all right, now don't you walk to that out gate. Now I know you want to go over there, but don't you do it, you sorry sucker.
Yeah.
But I came out of there and was like, man, and there was nothing wrong with the horse. Nobody get on me about that. There's nothing wrong with the horse. It's the difference between doing it a million times and not. And so when you're mounted on your stuff, and 3-man roping on somebody else's horse is pretty easy. You need them to hold the rope. You need to be able to throw the shot. If it was an old blown up barrel horse, it'd probably be pretty rough on you. But the fact of the matter is, if the horse will stand for 3-man roping, I can get that stuff done without it looking bad. But the 1-man stuff, you are isolation. You are out there all by yourself, which can be wildly uncomfortable. Do you find when you go, well, I guess if you hadn't been to very many big loop ropings, you might experience this coming up. But when we go to these ropings, man, because we put stuff out on the internet, we get the stink eye quite a bit. And people don't mean it, I don't think, but they'll be kind of looking at you like, man, what is that guy doing here? Because, and I've had a lot of people say this to me, people who are like well-renowned. Okay, we won't name names, but people that you would know or have heard of will be like, man, it's really cool that y'all come to this stuff and rope in it because you're not just hiding behind the screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as you go along, the more you put out there on yourself of like, hey, these are my skills and my abilities. These are my shortcomings. Like, and you showcase that part of your life with people. You go and rope in these things, and they're like, thankful that you're willing to step in the arena. And it's funny because I look at myself as a competitor. I'm like, I want to come up here and whoop everybody, like literally. Like, I want it to be so bad that everybody's like, you're the best roper ever. Like, that's my goal in life, is to be the best roper that I can be. And so that people would think that I wouldn't come because I put stuff out on YouTube is crazy to me. But a lot of people think that. That you wouldn't be willing to come miss in front of all those people. It's like, dude, I put me missing on YouTube, man. It's way more people.
Yeah.
Like,
well, yeah, that's the thing is people think. I've even gotten comments about some of our videos from last summer, like, well, anybody could do that if they edited out your misses. I'm like, my misses are seen for the most part. It's not like I haven't made a video like you where it's all 30 minutes of just straight missing. But like the videos that this guy was talking about, there was no misses in there. Well, then they just think you're being cocky, but I just answered his question. So yeah, I kind of already get that even here. And that's kind of why I haven't we don't post that much, and it's because TikTok really is not our whole life. It's just a piece of it. But even day working here, if I show up with a camera on my head, it's just like everybody kind of parts like the Red Sea and just moves around.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's
uncomfortable.
Yeah, it is. And that's kind of why I haven't had a whole lot of GoPro stuff videoed. Summertime's the best time because I contract pastures and I'm out there with kids that are learning from me and myself. So nobody cares if I have a camera. But day working around here, if you show up to a place with a camera on your head, they're probably they just see you differently. I don't know why, but.
No, and I get it, dude. Try showing up to a Brandon with like 2 videographers, a drone buzzing everybody's horses. And I've become pretty hardened to it. Like if somebody invites us somewhere and says, yeah, come film, we'd love you to film, blah, blah, blah. I'm like unapologetic. Like I hand a kid a GoPro on a stick and I'm like, go crawl onto that guy's horse. Like get after it. You know what I mean? And they'll get all kind of cool stuff, but you just have to be like, man, if you want an ID Brandon video, this is what it looks like. You know, we got people everywhere with cameras pointing at you. Just ignore them and do your job, and they'll get the coolest stuff you've ever seen in your life. Because at first, man, it was so uncomfortable. Showing up to Ropens was uncomfortable. Like going to Brandon's was uncomfortable. You're trying to hide it and not. And that's why lots of guys wear the meta glasses, but they just don't get as good video as the GoPros. The GoPros are so much better than those meta glasses, in my opinion. And then like, honestly, if you want to showcase the lifestyle, you got to be in it. You got to be doing it. You got to be with authentic people, you know, and be authentic there because no one sees it without that. And I don't know, I've kind of gotten over it over the years. Like, I'm like, man, if it bothers you, I'm sorry, but they invited us, you know. And I find that most people, like, I go out of my way to be like introducing myself and like not letting people come up to me because of their perception of me maybe. And so like when I'm at the Pro-Am and I'm walking around the arena or the circle part where all the food and stuff are, like I walk around intentionally with a smile on my face, like friendly. I introduce myself to everyone I meet because they might not know who I am. They might just be giving me the stink eye because I got a weird hat on. I don't know. So I just introduce myself as like, hey, I'm Dalton, you know. And because if they do watch the YouTube and they do have this misconceived notion of who I might be or the way that I might be, or that I think I'm full of myself, maybe, I want to negate that with like loving them, if that makes sense. That might sound really weird, but that's how I've combated that awkwardness. Is I'm just like, hey man, what's up? You know, nice to meet you. You know, and
it surprises people, I think, too, because there's always I think all of us kind of do it. But if you see somebody that's famous, so like you, for instance, like I grew up watching your guys' videos, and that's one of the tools I used to learn. So the first phone call that I had from you asking about the rope partnership thing or the whatever you want, affiliate page, I got home and I told Dale, I was like, Dalton called me. She's like, well, what was that? I was like, well, he's just like another person. Like everybody, so I was guilty of it too. Everybody thinks that when somebody has a following, those people are going to put themselves above the common crowd. And some people might do that, but I feel like in the cowboy community, it's not that way. So you almost have to combat that with like what you're saying. Just, I'm just a human, like go visit with people, go be yourself. And that's something I need to get better about because I still am in that very awkward, like this feels weird when I'm videoing, or even if I pull out my phone to take a picture, I'm like, wow, everybody's staring at me while I'm taking this picture, wondering what I'm doing. So
yeah, no, my dad used to be, I mean, it took me 7 months to convince him to put a GoPro on. 7 months. He was like, no, I am not doing that. And then it got like, as we would go places, because videographers ended up, like my brother would come, not a cowboy dude. Bro Dog's wearing like a long sleeve fishing shirt and one of them floppy hats, you know? And,
what, like a boonie hat?
Yes. And we're around cowboys and Dad was like, man, I don't know about this. I don't know about this. Like it's uncomfortable, and I always was just like, I mean, it's Kyle, and like people at the pro-am will walk by me and they're like, are you the guy from 310? And I'm like, yeah, I am. And they're like, well, you look like a truck driver because I'm wearing Crocs and a ball cap and a T-shirt roping the dummy because I'm not roping. You know what I mean? I'm just like, This is what I like to wear. I like a T-shirt. I don't know what to tell you. And so there is some of that that's legit. Like people are kind of looking at you like, well, what the heck, But I've grown to not care. I just don't care. I'm like, I'm sorry, man. I like my Crocs, dude. I don't know what to tell. Cowboy boots are for riding. Crocs are for strolling, dude. I'm strolling right now. You know what I mean?
When I first met Bailey, I was guilty of that. I was like you had to look like a cowboy no matter where you went. It was hat all the time. I'm never wearing a ball cap. And it was a pride thing, I think, or maybe a try hard. It was definitely a try hard thing. Like you want to be seen as a cowboy. You want everybody to recognize you. And you eventually grow, hopefully sooner than it's too late, but you eventually grow to not really care. Like we really shouldn't live our lives caring what other people think of us. Like I know I pastor doctor. I know I day work. I know I do these things. Why does it matter what I wear? So like between pastors now, I'll slip on my dudes just to go from one pastor to the next because it's so much more comfortable. I got screws in both my feet. I got a bionic leg. Like I'm going to put on dudes. And I would have never done that before. I would have never even thought about slipping dudes on. But you eventually grow. And Bailey really helped me grow in that realm. Like, who cares what people think of you? Like, you're Mark. Be Mark. And yeah, like I said, hopefully people see that and grow in that aspect before it's too late. Because if you live your whole life based on what other people's perception is, it's kind of exhausting. Or at least it was when I was doing all of that stuff.
Imagine like Dave Stamey's song "Comfortable Shoes." Facts, dude.
Yeah.
Facts. Like my wife, like I never really got hung up in that. My dad did when he was young, dude. Like he'd wear boots and jeans to the beach, dude. Like cowboy. You know what I'm saying? And he talks about it now. He's like, yeah, dude, I was hung up. I was hung up on that deal. It's no good. And my wife told me one time, she was like, Dalton, what if I, because I'm a nurse, wore scrubs all the time? And that's the only thing I ever wore because I'm a nurse. I was like, well, that's stupid. She was like, so is you wearing your cowboy boots everywhere you walk, even though it hurts your feet. Like,
yeah, it's pretty true.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts. Like she is a nurse. She goes and does that. Does she have to wear scrubs to the beach? No, you don't. You don't. And lots of young people, I don't know if young people listen to this or not. I really hadn't been doing it long enough to have the data. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you are young and you're hung up, like you're a cowboy, like if you do this stuff, you're a cowboy because God made you a cowboy. That's a fact. And that's the way I look at it now. I'm like, I'm not a cowboy because I rope good or because I got a nice horse or because of the shoes I wear. I'm a cowboy and I think the way I do because God made me a cowboy and made me to think the way that I think. And that's a gift. And it doesn't matter what shirt I wear or hat or whatever. Because like, if I'm just being honest and throw all the shade you want, I hate cowboy hats. I hate wearing them. I do because it keeps the sun off my ears. But I've never put one on and was like, dang, man, you look pretty good in that. Ever. Well, not one time.
It might help if you didn't, hopefully this didn't just ruin it. It might help if you didn't have turned up sides. Try wearing one that's flattened out a little bit. You might like it better.
Right. But see, dude, now this is another whole nother argument we could get into. This is as bad as bridles and blah, blah, blah. But I don't see the flat hat as a flattering look for a short, stocky man. It's a T. Newman. It's a Travis Newman, a Mark Bossert type hat. The flat hat on a tall, slender guy, I get behind it. But a short, stocky guy like me in a flat hat, I just look in the mirror and I'm like, you got to take that off, dude. You can't wear that out. Like, that's not a thing. I just don't know.
People need to see a picture of Dalton in a flat.
Oh, dude. I'll flatten. The hat I got now I do like my felt, but you can only wear a felt in Alabama for a week and a half. You know what I mean? Like, it's too hot down here. I did have a palm leaf I got from Big Ben Saddlery while we were in Wyoming. I freaking love that hat. It fit like a ball cap. It was like a straw. It breathed enough. Like, I really liked it. So I think I'm going to order me another one of those. And I've had a couple of hats over the years that I was like, yeah, okay, I can get behind this, you know. But man, they are more comfortable wearing the GoPro. Period. End of story.
100%. Yeah, I don't know why
they keep like
weight.
this.
Yeah.
Oh, miserable.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know. I'm a weird cowboy, man. I'm a weird cowhand. Like, I got some weird quirks on me. I'm
the opposite. I think my hat is, my sombrero is way more comfortable than a ball cap, but I like here lounging around, or if I just go to town once in a while, I wear a ball cap. Or shoeing. You can't, I tried shoeing with a hat. You can do it, but ultimately, if you're under a flinchy horse and your brim's poking them in the belly the whole time, it's just no good. So, but I'm the opposite. My sombrero is by far the most comfortable hat I have, but I don't wear it all the time. I used to, but I don't wear it all the time.
Yeah, dude.
And in the wintertime, it's way too cold here to even really, maybe I'm a pansy, but I got to wear something that covers my ears in the wintertime here. So all winter long, I got a Scotch cap on. So especially
now,
when
those are cool. I wore that in Wyoming a little bit. Now, I like them things. That's like a ball cap with earmuffs. Those things.
Yeah, they're warm. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you get to sweating in that thing. You're like, dang it ain't cold enough for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe not where you live, because where you live, it gets actually cold. Where I live, it doesn't get cold at all.
Yeah, that's actually why I had missed your guys' Stillwell clinic. I was planning on going to that, but we had it was like negative 28. That was the actual air temperature. That wasn't with the real feel winds. So I wasn't going to travel and leave my kids and wife at home.
No. How far are you from Colorado?
Oh, from the six and a half hours.
Okay. Same for Kansas?
Yeah, I think Kansas would have been, that Stillwell clinic would have been about 6 hours, I think.
Yeah, we're going to, Elbert, Colorado. It's right outside of Colorado Springs in April. And it's right next to where Michael Clausen lives, the Buck and K horsemanship guy. We're going to get up and play a game of pig. I'm pretty jacked. Like,
which direction from Colorado Springs? You said just outside, but which direction?
Let me see.
That's south of Bailey's parents. That's why I'm curious.
It's like 30. It's what have I done? Okay, Elbert. The only reason I know it's 30 minutes from there, is because I'm flying into Colorado Springs. All right, Elbert. It is okay. So that's Denver. Well, where's Colorado Springs?
Colorado Springs should be quite a ways
so it'd be like, it would be northeast a little bit, but almost directly north of Colorado Springs.
Yeah, that wouldn't be too terribly far from Bailey's parents. And they live in Alt. So.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's a military thing. So they were like, this year we kind of split it up to where I'm doing the clinics down here and they do the clinics out there. But the host was like, it's a military thing. You were in the military, even though I didn't really do anything in the military. I didn't deploy or anything. But he was like, I'd really like it if you'd come. And I was like, okay, well, I'll fly into Colorado Springs and we'll rope for 3 days. It'll be fun. So I'm going to go to that one. And that's the only one. And then next year, March 5th and 6th, I got one in Malta, Montana. It's dang near Canada. That thing is.
Yep, it's super close to Canada. I got some friends up there.
Yeah, I'm flying.
You should be able to see Canada from there.
Really?
I don't know. I'm just being sarcastic, but that's pretty close. Pretty close to Canada. Yeah. Throw a rock and you hit Canada's wall.
Yeah. Well, that'd be fun. I like the clinics. I like teaching. Obviously, intermediate to advanced people are like super fun. Like you can see a lot of growth in a guy. And beginners, if they kind of got a little, if they got it in them a little bit, they'll grow a lot in 2 days. So that's always a good time. But okay, I'm trying to think of what else. Mark, tell people where to find you, man. Like where to follow you, your wife's website, if they need some day working, old son, how they hook up with you.
TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. It's just my name, Mark Bossert, and then Bailey's the same. And then she's got a Cow Gal Supply with a K. So cow with a K, galsupply.com. And that's where all her stuff is. So
that's awesome. And she does Facebook and TikTok and all that as well, correct?
Yeah, I think Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram for all. I think Cow Gal's got a page on all of those as well. So it's all on most of the platforms.
Okay, perfect. Well, anything else you want to say to the people before we shut her down?
Oh, especially if even if there is older people listening to this, I guess don't get discouraged by the thought of wanting to get into this stuff. If you want to make something happen, do it. Because excuses really get you nowhere. If you want to do it and go for it. Find a mentor, whoever that may be, and message them. If you're on the fence about messaging somebody you look up to, do it, because people like us, Dalton is just a normal person. So reach out to somebody and get advice and do it.
And we like it. We like it.
100%.
Reach out, guys. I'll have all of Mark's stuff linked below. If you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be in the show notes on the podcast platforms. As always, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Never weaken.